Have you ever felt like life is passing you by? Not because you're doing too little, but because you're doing the same things over and over again? You wake up, you go to work, you scroll, you eat, you sleep, and somewhere in between all that repetition, is this really all there is? We don't often say it out loud, but the truth is, most people aren't really living. They're just rehearsing the same day, again and again, until they die. Safe, predictable, controlled, but also disconnected, uninspired, hollow. The comfort zone is seductive. It makes you feel secure. It gives you routine. But what if I told you that your comfort zone isn't just limiting you, it's slowly killing your potential? What if I told you that every time you say maybe tomorrow, you bury another piece of your aliveness? Across ancient philosophy, spiritual teachings, and modern neuroscience, there's a startling truth. Growth begins where comfort ends. The life you want, the purpose you crave, the freedom you dream of, they're all waiting for you on the other side of discomfort. So in this video, we're going to uncover why staying safe is the most dangerous decision you'll ever make, what your brain is doing when you avoid risk, what ancient wisdom teaches about courageous living, and how you can begin today, not tomorrow, to reclaim your fire. Because one day you'll wake up and there won't be any more tomorrows. Let this be the day you break the loop. Let's begin. The hidden prison of safety. On the surface, the comfort zone feels like protection. It's the cozy job you don't love but won't leave. The predictable routine that numbs you just enough to avoid the deeper questions. The same faces, same places, same choices, all wrapped in the illusion of peace. But let's be honest, it's not peace. It's paralysis. The comfort zone is a hidden prison, and the bars are built from your own fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough, smart enough, strong enough. And instead of confronting those fears, most people decorate their cells. They convince themselves it's better to stay where it's safe than to risk the unknown. But what is safety if it costs you your aliveness? Ancient Stoics like Seneca warned us, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. He wasn't talking about laziness, he was talking about living without intention. Neuroscience tells us the same. Your brain is wired to favor familiarity. The amygdala, your fear center, sends danger signals anytime you try something new, even if that danger is just discomfort. That's not weakness. That's biology. But your biology doesn't get to decide your destiny. You do. You can either spend your life perfecting comfort, or you can choose the terrifying, glorious, soul-igniting path of growth. And here's the paradox. The longer you stay safe, the less safe you actually become. Because the world changes, and if you don't change with it, you fall behind. You become a ghost of who you were meant to be. So ask yourself now, what is comfort really costing you? The seduction of familiar pain. There's a strange truth about human nature. We will often choose familiar pain over unfamiliar freedom. Why? Because the known, even when it hurts, feels safer than the unknown. We'd rather stay in relationships that drain us than face the terror of being alone. We'd rather stay in unfulfilling jobs than risk failure chasing our dreams. We tell ourselves stories like, maybe it's not that bad, or this is just the way I am. But these aren't reflections of truth. They're defense mechanisms, psychological shields that protect us from the responsibility of change. Carl Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And it's true. The comfort zone is seductive not because it is pleasant, but because it is predictable. You know how your days will unfold. You know what to expect from your life, even if it makes you miserable. And so you adapt. You shrink. You numb. You rationalize. Until your life becomes a cycle of quiet desperation, dressed up as normalcy. But here's the secret no one tells you. The discomfort of growth is temporary. The regret of stagnation is forever. And every time you ignore that whisper inside, the one begging you to change, to move, to evolve, you build another layer around your cage. Until one day you forget there was ever a world outside of it. So let this be the wake-up call. The pain you fear out there is nothing compared to the slow, soul-crushing ache of a life unlived. The real danger isn't failure. It's forgetting who you are. How the brain becomes addicted to comfort. Your brain doesn't care about your growth. It cares about your survival. And comfort to the brain feels like safety. This is why even unhealthy routines, mindless scrolling, junk food, toxic relationships, can become hardwired habits. They trigger predictable dopamine responses. And over time, the brain begins to associate the familiar with the rewarding, regardless of whether it's actually good for you. Neuroscience calls this homeostasis. The brain seeks balance, equilibrium, a predictable state. So when you try to change even in a positive direction, the brain resists. Not because it hates progress, but because change feels like danger. This is also why motivation fades so quickly. You start with a burst of energy, a new goal, a fresh habit. But the moment discomfort kicks in, your mind starts whispering, let's just skip today. This is too hard. Maybe we're not ready yet. And if you listen, you reinforce the comfort loop. The neural pathways that tell you to retreat become stronger, and the ones that lead to courage and growth, they wither. But here's the good news. Your brain is plastic. It can change. Every time you push through resistance, Every time you say yes to discomfort in service of your higher self, you weaken the old patterns, and you build new ones. You train your mind to stop seeing challenge as danger and start seeing it as possibility. Your comfort zone isn't just a physical routine, it's a neurological one. And escaping it starts by rewiring your relationship with discomfort, not by waiting to feel ready, but by showing your brain what's truly worth fearing. A life stuck in neutral, the illusion of safety at the price of stagnation. Comfort feels like safety, but often it's just a beautifully decorated trap. The longer you stay in it, the more it costs you. Not in money, but in time, in purpose, in vitality. We are wired to seek comfort, but we are not designed to stay there. Because life itself is motion, and anything that stops moving starts dying. Think of the river. Flowing water stays clean, but stagnant water, it decays. The same is true for your soul. When you live inside your comfort zone, you're not protecting yourself, you're preserving yourself. Like something in a jar, you become a museum of your past, rather than a masterpiece in progress. And here's the illusion. Staying in your comfort zone feels like avoiding pain. But what you're really doing is trading the short-term discomfort of growth for the long-term agony of regret. The job you never applied for, the love you never pursued, the book you never wrote, the life you never truly lived. Safety isn't always safe. Stability isn't always secure. Sometimes what looks like peace is just paralysis. And while the world around you keeps moving, evolving, growing, you remain frozen, numb, invisible to your own potential. That's the price of stagnation. But you have a choice: to remain entombed in what's familiar, or to step into the wild unknown where your true life begins. Not because it's easy, but because anything less would be a betrayal of who you were born to become. Resistance, fear, and the threshold of change. Every time you stand on the edge of change, resistance rises. It whispers in your ear, "You're not ready. What if you fail? What will they think of you?" But here's the truth. Resistance isn't a sign to stop. It's a signal that you're exactly where you need to be. Because fear always guards the threshold of transformation. It's not comfort that shapes us. It's courage. When the Stoics spoke of living with virtue, they didn't mean avoiding fear, they meant acting in spite of it. They believed that growth begins where fear meets action. And the Buddha taught the same. That freedom from suffering begins by facing the illusion of the self. The part of us that clings, avoids, resists. Neuroscience confirms this. When you step outside your comfort zone, your brain rewires. New neural pathways are formed. You literally become someone new. But to get there, you must pass through the fire of fear. Here's the paradox. What you fear losing, your comfort, your identity, your control, is nothing compared to what you're afraid of discovering. Your own power. Because if you really are capable of more, if you really can grow, evolve, and break free, then the old story you've been telling yourself has to die. And that's terrifying. But it's also sacred. Every rite of passage begins with fear, and every transformation requires the courage to cross the threshold, to feel the resistance and walk forward anyway. The question isn't whether you're afraid. The question is, will you let fear define your future, or will you let it guide you to it? The path forward, how to escape the comfort trap. Escaping your comfort zone isn't about recklessness. It's about reclaiming your life. It starts with awareness. You must see the walls you've built around yourself, the habits, excuses, and stories that have kept you small. You must name the patterns that have numbed your potential. Next comes intention. You don't need to leap into chaos, you just need to lean into the edge. One hard conversation, one new habit, one small act of courage every day. The Stoics called this voluntary discomfort, the practice of choosing challenge to train the soul. Seneca would sleep on the floor, eat the simplest food, wear rough clothes, not to punish himself, but to remind himself, I can endure this. I don't need comfort to live with strength. Modern psychology echoes this. Deliberate discomfort like cold exposure, fasting, or waking early activates resilience. You train your nervous system to stay grounded in the storm. But more than any hack or habit, escaping your comfort zone requires a shift in identity. You must stop seeing yourself as someone who plays it safe and start living as someone who is here to grow. Because here's the truth. You don't escape your comfort zone by force. You escape it by vision, by seeing the life that's possible beyond it, and deciding you're willing to face discomfort to live that life. Every day you choose comfort or courage, safety or self-discovery, the familiar or the future. You don't need a map. You need a reason, a why that's stronger than your fear. And when you find it, that's when you finally break free. The comfort zone deathbed regret. There's a question that echoes through hospice wards and dying hearts, a whisper that comes too late for too many. What if I had gone for it? Not what if I had been richer, more famous, more perfect, but simply, what if I had tried? The deepest regret isn't failure. It's the slow suffocation of potential. It's knowing you were made for more, but comfort seduced you into silence. This is the deathbed of the comfort zone. A life filled with safety but empty of story. A life that never risked rejection so it never knew love. A life that never tried and failed so it never truly lived. The research backs this up. In study after study, what haunts people at the end of life isn't what they did. It's what they didn't do. The paths not taken. The courage never claimed. The dreams quietly buried beneath routine. But you're not at the end. You still have time. You still have choice. And every breath is a chance to rewrite the story. You can decide right now, today, to live with intention, not inertia. To move with purpose, not passivity. To lean into the fear and go anyway. Because the comfort zone will always feel safe. But that safety is a lie. It costs you your aliveness, your wonder, your becoming. So ask yourself now, if I died a year from today, what would I most regret not doing? Then do it. Not someday, not perfectly, but now while there's still time. Because that is what it means to be alive.